Sundered is a hand-drawn Metroidvania with RPG elements which takes place in an ever-changing world akin to a roguelike. That's a mouthful, isn't it? You play a young wanderer, Esh, who stumbles into the ruins of an ancient society. Trapped in a world filled with horrifying monsters, she's given aid by a magical sword that, as the game progresses, explains more on what transpired. It's atmospheric with a sparse tale that gives you just enough to fill in the blanks. By the end, you'll start to figure out things before the somewhat predictable but interesting twist. Good or bad, like any great Metroidvania, gameplay is key, as is exploration. I limited myself what I wanted to show you in this video because part of the fun of this game and others like it is discovering things for yourself. And I'm not talking about story details either. It's the new abilities, areas, and ever-present enemies that will shock and amaze. Let's begin simply with the opening mechanics. Ash is given the sword, has the ability to dodge attacks, and aside from her health bar, has a rechargeable shield. New skills, like the ability to double jump, can be found throughout the environment, which then grant access to new areas. Ash also gains new offensive powers, which has been detailed in the press and trailers, but even so, I don't want to talk about them other than to say these elements are awesome. The map itself never changes, but monsters randomly spawn. Maybe it's not so much a roguelike then, but perhaps more like a turn-based RPG akin to Final Fantasy. Sometimes you'll get a handful following you, while other times you'll get hordes and even stronger mini-bosses. The tougher the encounter, the better the rewards, which include randomly dropped perks and shards. These shards can be used to boost Ash's stats via an upgrade system. At any point, you can warp back to the sanctuary in order to upgrade her, or you'll automatically be warped there upon death. Thankfully, you lose nothing from dying other than ground traversed, which is really my only big issue with Sundered. The map will show you where the big items or bosses are with icons, but everything else on it is sparse. You may see a room with a lock but have no idea how to actually get there. Eventually you can disable locks to make travel less of a hassle because if you die, you have to retrace your steps. There are no checkpoints, just those aforementioned shortcuts that are often few and far between. This is where the roguelike elements play in my opinion. In a game like Super Metroid, your progress is measured by set upgrades you find in the environment along with miles traveled. Here, it's all about the shards you collect and what elements you unlock in the skill tree. When you die, you just have to get right back on that horse. Backtracking can be annoying, but for the most part, I didn't really mind going to and fro on repeat since there was always something new to upgrade upon my return to the sanctuary. See where I'm going with that analogy? It may sound confusing, but trust me, once you get started, it'll be hard to put down, frustrations and all. As fun as it is to play, Sundered is better to look at. The animations of both Esh and the monsters are incredible, let alone the designs. It kind of reminds me of a 2D Destiny spliced with Disney, in a way, while still having its own style. I always take screenshots while reviewing games, but rarely do I comb over them. In Sundered's case, I made a habit of studying them just to notice the small intricacies in the animation. I even did that for this footage, frame by frame. If they made an art book, I'd pre-order it in a heartbeat, is really what I'm trying to say. Now, I really wasn't a fan of Thunder Lotus Games' first title, Jotun, but the one thing I did applaud was the visuals and the boss encounters. The bosses are incredible here too, but not as memorable as the ones in Jotun. Still, I'd play Sundered 100 times over because it's a much better experience overall. Backtracking in the sparse wide environments can be a hassle, and sometimes the hordes of monsters can be encumbering. Also, the loads between startups and deaths are pretty long, plus I encountered a few minor glitches, including frame dips and crashes. Bugs can be fixed in patches though, and the other two gripes are minor in the grand scheme of things. Sundered never made me seek out the next area, but I was still somehow transfixed with just playing, which I think is a true testament to how fun this game is, despite my issues with it. If you were turned off by Jotun, but love the art, and you like Metroidvanias, then I highly recommend you give this one a shot. Did you know that was a ReActionExaminer video? If you liked it, you should subscribe to me to keep up with everything that I'm doing. Also, if you have some other interests, like sex for example, check out Tomops, which is a comedy sex podcast thing wherein my best friend and I check out the weird and abnormal and the erotic. And of course you should support me on Patreon because hey, I want to make the channel better and I want your help to do so. Plus, if you want to check out my writing, check out Game Jerk, where I have archives and new stuff for all projects, okay? You can find all the stuff and more in the description with the links below. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all next time.